Zack Snyder's vision for the DCEU remains one of modern cinema's most fascinating what-ifs. The Snyder Cut offered a glimpse into a grand-scale epic that was never fully realized. But by examining the foundational storylines, abandoned character arcs, and uncharted mythological narratives, one thing becomes clear. The real loss wasn't box office potential, it was the disappearance of a genuinely different future for blockbuster cinema. To understand what made this vision so distinctive, we need to start where Snyder started. The existing trilogy comprising Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Zack Snyder's Justice League did not merely serve as action films. They were the first acts of a meticulously planned 5-film arc. In each movie, seeds were planted intended to blossom into central plot lines. Chief among these was the role of Martian Manhunter. Revealed in the Snyder Cut to be General Swanwick, a character present since Man of Steel, J'onn J'onzz was positioned to step out of the shadows. His presence suggested a much broader extraterrestrial history on Earth, implying that the Justice League's formation was being silently shepherded by an ancient guardian. Similarly, the political complexities of Atlantis and Themyscira were only barely scratched. While the Aquaman movie in 2018 explored Arthur Curry's world, Snyder's version hinted at a more mythical, perhaps darker integration of these ancient kingdoms into the surface world's defense. The history lesson sequence in Justice League established a precedent of unity against apocalypse, a dynamic that was destined to be tested again. The full scale of the apocalyptian invasion plan was also merely teased. Steppenwolf was but a herald. The true threat, Darkseid, and his elite guard, Darkseid and Granny Goodness, represented a complex hierarchy of villainy that would have turned Earth into a staging ground for a war of cosmic proportions. The glimpse of the anti-life equation carved into the Earth's surface was not just an Easter egg, but the narrative engine for the entire saga's second half. But world-building only matters if you care about who inhabits that world. The character trajectories in the SnyderVerse were designed as long-form arcs, distinguishing them from the episodic nature of many superhero films. Batman's arc was arguably the most significant. Introduced in Batman v Superman as a fallen crusader who had lost his moral compass,
he has the power to wipe out the entire human race, and if we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty.
Bruce Wayne's journey was one of redemption. Zack Snyder's Justice League saw him operating on faith rather than paranoia, but his story was far from over. The intended sequel plans revealed a Bruce Wayne who would eventually sacrifice his life to save the world, completing a transition from a man who sought to end a god to a man who died to save one. Superman's evolution was equally critical. Post-resurrection, Kal-El was no longer the conflicted novice of Man of Steel or the misunderstood savior of Batman v Superman. He had returned with a solidified identity. But Snyder's plan took a darker path, the Nightmare timeline. The setup in BVS, the flash-forward dream sequence, and Cyborg's vision in the Snyder's Cut pointed toward a Superman corrupted by the anti-life equation following the death of Lois Lane. This tragic turn would have deconstructed the character's infallibility, forcing audiences to confront the terrifying reality of an omnipotent being stripped of his humanity, a narrative risk that few franchises would dare to take. Cyborg, described by Snyder as the heart of the movie, had the most restored content in the 2021 cut, yet his journey was only beginning. His struggle was existential, a digital god trapped in a monster's body. The planned trajectory would have seen Victor Stone evolving to a point where he could manipulate the digital age entirely, eventually regaining a human appearance through his mastery of technology, symbolizing the ultimate reconciliation of man and machine. Thematically, the SnyderVerse was obsessed with the concept of gods among men.
Hi, hello, Lex, it is a pleasure. Ow, wow, that is a good grip. You should not pick a fight with this person.
This was not just a tagline, but a philosophical inquiry. How does the world react to a being like Superman? BVS answered with political hearings and religious worship. A full saga would have deepened this by contrasting the old gods, Zeus, Ares, Artemis, with the new gods, Darkseid, and the modern gods, the Justice League. The theme of trauma was also pervasive. Every member of the League was defined by loss, Bruce's parents, Clark's homeworld, Diana's isolation, Victor's body, Barry's father, Arthur's abandonment. The untapped potential lay in the resolution of this collective trauma, moving the team from a group of broken individuals to a cohesive family that found healing in unity.
I don't care how many demons he's fought and how many hells. He's never fought us. Not us united.
So we understand the themes. We understand the foundation. Now, let's examine the specific storylines that were left hanging. Justice League 2 was slated to be a film of two halves, a grounded struggle against the Legion of Doom and a cosmic descent into the nightmare. The dynamic of the team would have shifted from formation to fortification. Wonder Woman, having stepped away from humanity for a century, was set to fully embrace her role as a leader, not just of the League, but potentially reuniting the Amazons with the world of men. Her struggle would have been balancing her warrior heritage with her diplomat's heart in a world crumbling under Darkseid's shadow. Aquaman's arc involved fully uniting the Seven Kingdoms, a thread picked up by James Wan, but envisioned by Snyder as a prerequisite for the final battle against Apocalypse. The Flash was positioned as the narrative cornerstone. Barry reversing time in the Snyder Cut wasn't a gimmick, it was the setup. His entire arc was about becoming the one hero who could break the rules and save the universe when everything else failed. Of course, heroes are only as compelling as their opposition, and the SnyderVerse had assembled a rogues gallery that was primed to create genuine stakes.
You're psychotic.
That is a three-syllable word for any thought too big for little minds.
The post-credit scene of the Snyder Cut set up a terrifying alliance between Lex Luthor and Deathstroke. The untapped potential here was a Batman film, originally to be directed by Ben Affleck, where Deathstroke systematically dismantled Bruce Wayne's life, fueled by the knowledge of his secret identity. This would have been a psychological thriller grounding the high-flying operatics of the League in gritty, personal stakes. Lex Luthor's long game was even more ambitious. He was not merely a corporate rival, but a collaborator with Darkseid, trading humanity's freedom for his own survival, a betrayal of biblical proportions. But the universe wasn't just expanding outward with villains. New heroes were quietly being positioned in the margins, waiting for their moment. Ryan Choi was intended to become the Atom. Snyder had pitched a spin-off film for the character, set in China, which would have expanded the universe's genre diversity into hard sci-fi and international markets. This represents a significant missed opportunity for representation and world building. Yet for all the potential new faces entering the universe, Snyder's endgame was always about paying the ultimate price for victory. The conclusion of the SnyderVerse was designed around the ultimate sacrifice. Batman's death was not just a plot point, it was the thematic conclusion to the era of the dark, violent vigilante, paving the way for a hopeful rebirth. The introduction of a child, Bruce and Lois's son, named Bruce Kent, who would not possess powers but would inherit the Batman mantle, served as a symbolic synthesis of the world's finest. It suggested that heroism is not genetic, but a choice. Furthermore, the Green Lantern Corps, teased with Yalin Gur in the history lesson and Kilowog in concept art, were set to join the final battle. The inclusion of Jon Stewart, who was filmed for the Snyder Cut but removed at the studio's request, would have completed the League's roster, linking the Earth-based struggle to a galaxy-wide defense corps. Snyder's roadmap drew heavy inspiration from Grant Morrison's Final Crisis and the Injustice video game/comic storyline. The concept of a crisis in DC lore usually involves timeline manipulation and multiverse stakes. The Nightmare reality was Snyder's version of this, a worst-case scenario timeline that had to be erased. This narrative structure allows for high-stakes storytelling where characters can die and worlds can burn without permanently breaking the franchise's viability, as The Fix, Flash's time travel, resets the board but leaves the emotional memory intact. A full adaptation of this would have been a cinematic event akin to Avengers Endgame, but with a darker, more dystopian second act where the heroes technically lose for an extended period. Now, all of this sounds artistically ambitious, but was it commercially viable? Let's talk about the money. The abrupt pivot away from the SnyderVerse is often framed as a course correction. but an analysis of the data suggests it may have been a commercial miscalculation. Man of Steel, $668 million, and Batman vs. Superman, $873 million, were objectively financially successful, even if they didn't hit the elusive $1 billion mark immediately. It is worth noting that the MCU did not hit $1 billion until its sixth film, The Avengers. The SnyderVerse was building a dedicated audience base that was highly engaged. The release of Zack Snyder's Justice League on HBO Max demonstrated the power of this engagement. It was a primary driver for HBO Max subscriptions in early 2021, proving that the audience was not just vocal on social media, but willing to pay for content. The subsequent decline of the DCEU post-Snyder is telling. Films like Black Adam, Shazam, The Flash, and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom saw diminishing returns, with several failing to recoup their production budgets. This suggests that by abandoning the serialized, epic storytelling of the SnyderVerse for a more disjointed, tonally inconsistent approach, the studio lost the core audience without successfully capturing a new one. A complete SnyderVerse, with its event film status for Justice League 2 and 3, could theoretically have commanded box office numbers rivaling the Avengers films, due to the accrued narrative momentum, and the financial opportunity extended far beyond those 5 films. The 5-film arc structure provided a clear ending, but the universe established was fertile ground for spin-offs. By canceling these plans, Warner Bros. Effectively reset the clock, forcing them to spend years rebuilding brand equity that Snyder had already established. Strip away the box office analysis, though, and what you're left with is something harder to quantify, but equally important. The legacy of the SnyderVerse is defined by its uniqueness. In an era where superhero films often adhere to a house style, Snyder's films were unapologetically auteur-driven. They were visually distinct, characterized by high-contrast cinematography, speed-ramping action, and a somber, operatic tone. A complete SnyderVerse would have stood as a singular artistic statement, a finite, closed-loop saga about the death and rebirth of the modern myth. This level of cohesion is rare in franchise filmmaking, which usually prioritizes infinite expandability over narrative closure. Snyder's plan to actually end the story, to sacrifice Batman and retire the Justice League, would have given the series a weight and finality that is often lacking in the genre. So how do we measure what was lost? Success is often measured in box office receipts, but the cultural footprint is equally important. The SnyderVerse films continue to generate discussion, analysis, and debate years after their release. They are studied for their religious allegory, visual composition, and political subtext. A fully realized 5-film arc would likely have been evaluated not just as a blockbuster series, but as a significant cinematic interpretation of American mythology. It pushed the boundaries of what a superhero film could be: long, complex, tragic, and visually experimental. Which brings us back to where we started, the question of what if? The untapped potential of a complete SnyderVerse lies in its promise of a superhero epic that treated its audience with intelligence and its characters with reverence. By abandoning this path, the studio traded a divisive but deeply passionate fan base for a general audience that ultimately failed to materialize for the subsequent course-corrected films. This breakdown into Snyder's plans reveals a saga that was structurally sound, thematically rich, and potentially commercially viable. While the SnyderVerse may never be completed on screen, its blueprint remains a fascinating testament to the power of auteur filmmaking in the age of the blockbuster, serving as a reminder that sometimes the boldest risks offer the greatest rewards. The incomplete nature of the saga ensures its legend will only grow, leaving fans and film critics to forever wonder about the masterpiece that might have been. So let me hear from you. What other plot from the SnyderVerse did I miss in this breakdown? Drop them in the comments. Let's talk about what could have been. If you enjoyed this video, you would also want to subscribe and check out my other video on why the Snyder fans refuse to move on from the SnyderVerse. Thanks for watching. I would see you in the next one.